I'm kind of doing this from my work right now. So I told everybody, I'm like, guys, at 7:30 I can't do anything, and someone just walked in.
No problem, no problem. What do you do for work?
Oh, me and my family own a jam space.
Sick.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow, how convenient.
Yeah, it's really nice, but at the same time, it's when I started planning doing these streams, it was before the lockdown ended here in Ontario, so I'm like, oh crap, I have to do a few of these from work now.
Right. Oh man, but that must be super helpful for like rehearsing with. Are you able to rehearse with your band right now?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, we always at the moment kind of, because we're kind of only so our drummer is currently stuck in another country because of
right. He's in Greece, right?
Yeah, he's in Greece, and he hasn't been able to come back yet. So we've pretty much just been practicing. I've been trying to get our new guys up to speed, but we've pretty much just been playing the tracks for the past few months.
Wow. I mean, I envy that. We haven't even been able to play together. So, I mean, at least that.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Well, so anyways, thanks for coming on the show. It's been amazing. And I just see as soon as you came on, a gigantic surge of people just came in. Jesus. So, hey, everyone, thanks for joining. So, yeah, so I guess it's been a long time. So how you been?
Oh, God, when was the last time I saw you? Was it at Cafe Fucked?
Yes, it was at Cafe Fucked.
I didn't realize that. So if anyone doesn't know, it's called Cafe Decuff or something. And I didn't notice that it's the word fucked backwards until somebody was like, Cafe Fucked. Like, oh my God, now I have to be like, good evening, Cafe Fucked. How are you?
Oh yeah,
that was a long time ago, wasn't it? Like, was that like 2 summers ago?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. It was like I think it was 2 years ago. It doesn't feel like it though, but I think it was.
Yeah. Okay, well the last year doesn't count, but like since then it's been pretty good. Just like, I don't know, it's always busy no matter what. I think I had 1 month where I like sat on the couch and played video games and drank myself to death. And then since then it's just been like stuff. How about you?
Yeah, well, it's been the same for me too, because what happened was we had 2 members leave, and for the first few months of the pandemic, for like the first 6 months or so, we were trying to look for new members, and we kind of figured, oh, you know, there's nothing going on, so we can actually take the time to find the right people, you know.
Right.
And it was really difficult because we didn't do anything for months, and it was kind of a very depressing time for me personally too. So when we finally got some guys and we started jamming again and getting them up to speed, I'm like, oh, I really should start posting again. And then that's what I've been trying to do recently, is just trying to learn social media, and started at the suggestion of one of my colleagues. I started doing this as well, just to be social again, and just have to and just be able to talk to some old friends and colleagues, and talk to even a few people I've never actually met before, but I'm just like a fan of too. So yeah, that's pretty much been it. We have new material coming out soon, and that's about it.
Nice, that's awesome. And I think it's really great that you guys are hosting these talk shows like this. And I might actually steal that idea.
Oh, please, yeah. I actually stole this idea from somebody. My friend Gaia Gawarda. She's in a metal band, but she's mainly like a goth dark wave solo artist, and she had me on her show, and I'm like, I should do this. It's because the kind of guests she was getting were. It's different enough because the kind of guests she was getting was like really different from who I'm getting. So it's kind of more people in her genre. The only reason I was on there was just because the first 2 were just like, oh, I'm just gonna have friends of mine for the first few. But yeah. So I guess before we get into the actual meat of the conversation, for everybody watching, I'll just say the usual thing. If you guys have any questions, then put them in the comments, and we'll get to them at some point. I already have a few written down from some fans of yours that responded to some of our stories and all that. So I guess the first thing to talk about, and I talked about this a bit with Jack, is so Spires 3 is done. So so I guess my question to you is first of all, how'd the recording go, and what are some things you can are you allowed to divulge to the viewers?
Well,
Oh shit, the video cut out, I think. Hey, are you there? No, I can't. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
okay, sorry about that. Somebody called me right after you asked me that question.
Oh, that's happened a few times to me on here as well.
Okay, yeah, I just turned off my cell data, so hopefully that won't happen again.
Wait.
Yeah, sorry guys. Okay, how did the recording process go? It was the longest we've ever taken. Definitely the longest the vocals have ever taken. Oh my god. I was an extreme stickler about my parts. Normally I'm like, let's just get a couple takes. Oh, that's good enough for me. You know, you can fix it in the mix.
Yeah.
I really, we're about to get a little personal here.
That's cool.
I have issues. So the year before, in 2019, I went on this tour with Avantasia, and I was like, holy shit, every night I'm out here with like some of the like biggest legends of my genre. I better fucking step up my game. I'm not good enough. And so I started taking lessons again with this great guy, David Åkesson. He's based in Sweden. I don't know if you know him.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know him, he's the singer of this band Contest, and he's also he does cleans, extreme vocals, like stratospheric, high, like power metal belting, musical theater. He's like a master's in musical education. He's just a fucking genius, and just like one of the nicest motherfuckers and the best teacher I've ever had. So I started taking lessons with him. Long story short, had to get over my like I'm not good enough thing. But we got into the studio, which is where I am right now, which is also Jack's room, and we spent months, dude. Like, I mean, first of all, there's only so much singing I can do in a day because, like, the voice gets tired, and I can only sing like blindly so many times in a day before we've got like a 50-piece choir of just me, and you know, it's like. I really wanted to make everything as precise and perfect as I possibly could without any edits or anything. So it was a painstaking process, but I really think that it's the best thing that I've done so far, period. That's a long answer to a short question. Is there anything that I can divulge?
No, that's cool. It's cool. It's because and it's good that you bring up the whole thing with doing all the vocal takes and making it precise and all that. It's just because I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's something that I've been struggling with too as well, because during this time we've been like mainly recording demos and stuff, but we've been since our drummer's in a different country, we all had to. I already had one. I think our guitar player already had one too, but we all had to invest in more in-home recording equipment and all that. So we've had to, like, our drummer has like a friend of his who has a studio in Greece. He goes there, does the tracks, sends them to us. We've had to do that. And I was telling this to Jack, since Jack worked on some of our stuff. I was telling him, man, doing vocals on your own at home is honestly hell. It's hell.
It is, because there's nobody to be like, hey man, that was a pretty good take. There's no need for you to do that again. It's just you and your like shadow self being like, you suck. That was terrible. You suck. Do it again. You're never gonna get it right.
Every time. I was actually telling Jack, one of the songs on the album, it's actually the last track. I kid you not, spent about 3 months doing it because it was like one of those. It was the same thing. It was like the shadow me being like, yeah, this is terrible. Just cut the song from the album. I'm like, no, I've cut 2 songs already. I'm not cutting another one. And so I finally did it and finally finished it. And for all the people that have heard it, they've all told me that one's actually their favorite. I'm like, really? I was like, when it was happening, I was like, oh, I'm never singing this song again. I'm never playing this song live again. Fuck this song. And then out of nowhere, everybody who I showed the album to, they're like, oh yeah, the last track's the best track. I'm like, wait, what?
Wow. I mean, it do be like that. Like the ones that you struggle the most on, I don't know. I feel like giving that extra like 10% of like tears really makes like a significant difference. And I think people can tell when you've really given it more than your all, you know?
Yeah. And that's actually a good segue into one of the things I was going to ask you. As I said, I have a whole list here of stuff from not just myself, but from like people that have like reached out to us and all that. I said, you're probably the most anticipated guest we've had so far, obviously. So
great. I'm glad to be here.
So I guess as a good segue into that is one of the things that about your vocals that is one of my personal favorite things about your singing too, is that in like an age now where, as we were saying, everybody is kind of so concerned with like, oh, like being pitch perfect and trying to do as little edits as possible and all that stuff and trying to achieve perfection and stuff like that. One of the things I love about your voice is how good you are at emoting. And that's something I feel that a lot of singers nowadays kind of lose sight of. And so my question to you is that how did you develop that side of your singing to be very emotive? Because I always find when I try and do it, I'll kind of emote too much and it'll kind of maybe go off key or off pitch or whatever. Mm-hmm. So how did you develop that style? How did you develop how you could do that so seamlessly?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot. It's definitely an aspect of singing that I pride myself on. I think it first was, it began in theater. I am an ex-theater kid. You probably already knew this. Probably everyone watching knows that I'm a theater nerd. Theater, it's all about storytelling, and all of the art that's close to my soul that I've created is also all about storytelling. You know, we write concept albums and that kind of thing. And you really, like, in my opinion, you can't tell a good story without emoting in a certain way. And how did I develop this? I don't know. I think I just started paying more attention to the sounds that people make naturally when they're making or when they're feeling a certain way. So anger and like aggression was one of the first ones that I was paying more attention to, I guess. And at the time I was singing more rock and roll and like punk influenced stuff. And a lot of that, you can even hear it in like a Boston accent. Like they tend to speak more like this. And it just, if you imagine like a hardcore frontman, he's like, what the fuck is up, motherfucker? And it's all about the like, shit. This kind of, it sounds like you're like punching air. And this requires no extra effort from me, but it sounds so much more like, ugh. So yeah, it's really about paying attention to the sounds that people naturally make. Something like sadness, people tend to get more of this crying sound, and it's like the voice is breaking, but it's not quite broken. And when people, I mean, we as humans are like naturally pretty empathetic creatures, unless you're a fucking psychopath. But when you hear somebody making these sounds, you non-verbally will hear this person is in pain, or this person is in love, or this person feels a certain way, and then you feel that way because, you know what I mean? So it's just about this, like, I hear what's happening naturally, so I take that and then I use it to make that sound, and then it makes other people feel that way. So it's I guess as a singer, it's my job is really about manipulating other people's emotions.
But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that's I actually never thought of it that way, actually, which is it's absolutely awesome. Because as I said, like, I'm sure I could speak for a lot of us in the chat right now, and when we listen to your stuff, it you can feel what the character is feeling, you know, and that's, as I said, that's something that is not only extremely hard to do, but also just you don't see very often, you know, because I know like there was like sort of like the golden age of the concept albums like in the 90s with like Mindcrime and Scenes from Memory and all that, and that kind of stuff, you know, isn't made that much anymore. And I think we all really us people who love that kind of stuff really appreciate that there's a few bands that are still doing it to that level of kind of just top tier storytelling and emoting and all that stuff.
Well, thanks a lot. I'm glad that it's appreciated. Sometimes I feel a little, I mean, let me try to finish that thought before I get on to the next thought. Sometimes I feel a little bit lost in a world of stylized singers. Right now and for the last 10 or more years, I feel like, especially for female singers, there's so many artists that will do that, like either the Adele pronunciation or like the indie pronunciation. I'll just give a quick demonstration. So this song, Dark Horse. So I'll sing it like the kind of thing. Make me your Aphrodite. Like, how am I supposed to feel when I hear that? It doesn't make any sense. And so like, as somebody who doesn't fucking do that, and I'm more interested in like lyrics, emotions, and like just giving a good, clear delivery, like I feel like a fucking weirdo not singing like that. So I'm very happy that at least I know that there are some people that appreciate storytelling over sounding like a posh cat, I guess.
Yeah, and also because I find that that vocal style is just very, very like, we're at the point now where that style, at least it's just gotten old. You know, I find like I didn't realize like that was the kind of pronunciation until you just did it. But like I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of female pop singers kind of do like that mixed voice, sort of really kind of whimpery kind of sound. I'm like, yeah, that's so overdone now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, it is a great sound. And like, if you want to instantly sound like a pop star, there you go. But it's frustrating. I mean, I guess we're metalheads and we're not really interested in being pop stars anyway. But, and actually on that note, like, I don't know if you watched the Grammys or not, but I did. And usually I try to keep a really open mind. And like, I like to be the controversial metalhead of like, I accept everything. But I just like watching that, I couldn't relate to it at all. And it was just distressing because it was like, is this what's popular right now? Because I just don't belong. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how to feel about that. I hope that it will work in my favor and for everyone else's favor who doesn't do that. But goddamn.
Yeah, like I don't really I don't really pay attention to the Grammys personally, but like in recent years I've been trying to be like the same as well, because like I remember, like I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say this, but it's like when it's first getting to metal, it's the typical, like I was a thrash kid when I was in high school, so it was literally like, oh yeah, Megadeth, Overkill, fuck everything else, you know. And but now I'm literally like, my dad, I grew up on, like, I'm not joking when I say this, I'm like, because I grew up on Europop, like I grew up on Aqua and Roxette, because that's what my dad used to play. I didn't discover metal until my uncle showed me it, like years later. But that's what my dad used to play. And when I was when I was in high school, I was like, I can't believe I used to listen to that stuff. But now I'm just like, man, this is like some of the best songwriting I've ever heard, like ever. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, and I really think that a lot of metal consumers have this mindset where they just like can't get past the fact that it's not metal. But there's some genuinely really, really good songwriting in the pop world right now. And even before, like, are you gonna say Michael Jackson's bad because he's not metal? Like, you fucking better not.
No, not at all.
Like, even somebody like Max Martin, who's, I mean, he wrote so many hits for like Britney Spears, Katy Perry, like just textbook amazing songwriting, even if it's not, you know, your kind of thing necessarily. I don't know. I feel very strongly about this, but that's probably the songwriter in me. What was your first metal band, actually? You said,
me?
Megadeth. And
Well, they weren't my first actually. My uncle was the one who got me into metal because my whole dad's side of the family is all from the UK.
Mhm.
And so my dad was never really into metal, but my uncle was the one who got me into it because he was like a metalhead back in the 70s. And he saw like almost any 70s metal band, you name it, he's probably seen them. And the really early ones I remember was Judas Priest, obviously.
Mhm.
Like Judas Priest and Rainbow was another big one, and UFO and Thin Lizzy. Those four were kind of like my first. Like I was obviously a fan of Queen before, like Queen and Roxette, obviously. But my first bands that were kind of sort of just what kind of described as metal were those four. Were like mainly Priest, but also like UFO and Rainbow and stuff like that. But what about you? I think.
Well, let's see. My uncle actually also got me into metal. He gave me like
Cool uncle.
Like a mixtape basically, and it had a bunch of like, there was Metallica and like more like hair bands, I guess. But the first ones that I really found on my own, Megadeth was one of them. I remember the song "Angry Again" had like mysteriously appeared in my iTunes library, and I was like secretly listening to it like I didn't know that I liked this. Later I found Children of Bodom, and that was like my first kind of foray into more extreme vocals, and also the first time I'd ever heard keyboards in a metal band. And that was like the moment where I was like, I could do this, because I wasn't like a screamer at the time, and I was like kind of singing like not metal. But I was a pianist since I could sit up on the floor, and I was like, maybe I have a home here after all. And then I found Yngwie Malmsteen, and just as a classically trained musician, like that spoke to me so much. And from then on, I was always like, I need a guitar player like this, because like Jan Wehrman had Alexi Laiho, and then like there's like all these dynamic duos from all these like super famous metal bands and rock bands even. And I know that I'm a certain type of personality on stage, and I don't necessarily want it to be the Adrienne Cowan show, because that's not who I am. And I feel very lucky that I found Jack, actually. Sometimes I feel like we're very much not exactly the same musician, but he, like, nobody inspires. We never have to worry about like outdoing somebody or stepping on anybody's toes, because everybody's just always firing on all cylinders always at the same time. And yeah, I don't know how I got there. You asked me about my first band, and I said Children of Bodom. And
oh yeah. Well, also our drummer Panos just put a comment there. He's like, "You're all so young. I'm so jealous. I'm getting old."
Oh.
The age range in my band is absolutely hilarious. I'm the youngest at 22, and our drummer is 48. So.
Damn.
Yeah.
I got you beat. I'm the youngest in Avantasia, and I think Bob is in his 70s.
Jesus!
I know, dude, he's killing it. Like,
I love Bob.
Dude, he's the best. He's great.
I love Bob. I actually, because of Avantasia, I went out and I'm like, who is this guy? And I actually have like a bunch of the old Magnum vinyl at home. So I was just like, oh, this guy's so great,
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think I saw you guys when you came to Montreal, actually. And one of my favorite memories of that show was I dragged one of my friends to that show, and we're sitting there, and then you guys start playing, and I remember Eric Martin comes on after he sings. I forgot what song he sang first, but when they're talking, he goes, "Okay, I want to see a show of hands here. How many of you in this building right now are in your 20s?" And I think there was only 3 people who raised their hand. It was you, me, and my friend. That was it.
That's awesome.
And then Eric Martin looks around. He's like, "What the fuck?"
That sounds about right, to be fair.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I guess the next next topic that I'll get to, because I've seen a few people ask about this, and we actually have one of the fan questions asked. I was going to ask this personally, but someone else asked it too. if you're still watching, Mr. Caleb Norville Rye, really hope I didn't butcher that. We wanted to ask you about, so for the new Spires album, will the story be carrying on from the previous two? And if so, how did you come up with the storylines for these albums, like the overarching story?
So it is a continuation of the story. How do we come up with, I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those people that has like an inner world, I guess, like an inner fantasy type of thing. And it's just, the story has been writing itself since like 2012. I don't know why. I think authors, like fantasy authors, are like this. But I don't know for sure because I just write music. But a lot of it, I mean, a lot of it's influenced by the media that I consume. So like video games and like books, TV series, movies, stuff like that. And a lot of it's influenced by my life experience, I guess. I'm trying to figure out what I can tell you without spoiling things.
Oh yeah. Just say whatever you're allowed to say, I guess.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I try to write as honestly as I can about things that are that I feel very strongly about, and that often gets turned into long-winded metaphors. And I think that's all I can say at the moment.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Fair enough. As I said, but yeah, no, as I said, the stories, I said I can totally relate to that. And in terms of like the media that you said, I know just from what you've posted and also just from talking with you whenever I saw you at shows or whatever, is that you're an avid Skyrim fan, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, dude, and it's such an old game and I feel super lame, but it's so good.
Oh, it really is. So, let's see if I can get the chat a little divided right now.
Okay.
Nords or Stormcloaks, go.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm afraid to answer. I'm always part of the rebellion.
Yes.
Okay. Good. What about the people in the comments? Nobody has said anything yet.
Yeah, no, anyway, tell us in the comments, if you play Skyrim, are you Stormcloaks or Imperials? Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite build when you play Skyrim? Are you like a sneaky archer like everybody?
Oh, no. See, when I first played it, I was in middle school, I think. So when you're in middle school, literally your first kind of order of business is just I just want to wreck everything. So I was always a two-armed. I was always
Nice.
like a dual wield, and I was always that one dickhead who's like, oh, I was like that one guy who used like the noob tube. I'm like, oh, you're using Ysgramor's axe. Ooh, yeah. So it's just because I was a little kid and I just wanted to wreck shit pretty much. So I was always a double-wielded axe person, I guess.
Honestly, I could have guessed that just by looking at you. I don't know why, but you definitely seem like a two-handed melee type of guy. Couldn't tell you why. Did you?
Maybe that's how I'd be in real life. Who knows?
Did you play as an orc, or did you play like what race?
No, I was on Nord actually.
Okay. Sick.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would have guessed orc. I think I always just like put two-handed two-handed and then orcs together as like, because big strong tank guy go raw.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you? What's your usual build in that game then?
Oh, I mean, I've had the same play save for like 2 years, and I've done everything there is to do. And I can't bring myself to like save over it, but I'm always a dark elf. I favor like one-handed melee and then like magic in the other hand destruction. Until recently, and by recently I mean last year, I started collecting all the pieces of the I can't remember the name of the armor, but it's like the best light armor, and it's got like this samurai helmet, and you get it from like the pirate captain who's like buried in like various places.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for knowing. And then I became like one sword in each hand, because they had like magical properties, and like one drains mana and one drains health, and then like gets it back to you. But then I also like I have like a fucked up love life in Skyrim because I married Vorstag, and then I left him at home with one of my housecarls, and then I started taking Serena with me, or Serana. So like I'm like married to this guy, but then he has his stay-at-home boyfriend, and then I have my like follow me everywhere vampire girlfriend, and then I'm also a vampire lord. So it's an interesting life.
Oh yeah. As I said, I haven't played it in a while. I really should again, but I think I said in terms of me for my kind of love life, I guess in Skyrim, I was middle school. I was the huge pleb who married Alea the Huntress from the Companions. So, like everybody does. So.
Okay. I don't wait. That's the werewolf line, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Get it?
That's the only one that I haven't done. I haven't done the werewolf line because I'm a vampire lord and I didn't want to give that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense for us, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. We can name like Lycanthro.
It's actually funny. I remember telling this to Jack, and this is a freaking hilarious story. Is when you guys first came to Ottawa, the first time you came. I remember. Do you remember that place? Remember the Coven?
Yes. Oh, that place is sick.
So I remember. It's funny. Our bass player, who we just got in the band, actually is the cook there, which is sweet. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And and I remember when I brought you guys there. I think it was like we were sitting in the back, and I remember saying, "Oh, I'm from the band Lycanthro." I don't remember whether it was you or Jack who said this, but you said, "Oh, you guys are the werewolf band? Why are we sitting together?"
It was probably Jack. He probably said filthy werewolves or something.
Oh yeah, filthy lichens.
That might have been me actually. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know about the Coven, it's a really sick restaurant in Toronto,
Ottawa.
Yeah, and they have metal band themed dishes. So you can get like a Dimu burger, and I think there's like a Camelot themed one and like a Guinness themed one. Like,
there was a Camelot poutine, and they actually, I don't know how this happened, but Camelot actually shouted them out on their Facebook page. Oh, restaurant in Ottawa has a dish named after us.
That's so sick. Yeah, the place was really cool, and I think I got some really good sangria there.
Oh yeah. I said that place is great, and again, they're never stingy on the drinks. One of my favorite stories is my friend's really into Caesars, and he's just like, and he loves spicy food, so he's like, hey, get me a Caesar extra hot, and Maddie, the owner's like, oh, I'll give you extra hot, and then when he drinks, he's like, ah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so I guess we have about half an hour left, so I'll just get to the next thing I have here. So one of the things, back to what we were saying about a lot of people, whenever when they do chats with you, they always talk about your vocal style. Well, I want to just stray away from that for a little bit and actually talk about your lyrical style, because that's one of the other things that I really love about your music and your guys' music, is that you have this really distinct and unique, very eloquent way of writing lyrics. It almost, I know this is a really weird comparison, but it almost kind of reminds me of like the King Crimson style of writing lyrics, where it's like really just a lot of big words, a lot of metaphors, a lot of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to ask you was, again, like what I said with your vocal technique for emoting, how did you develop that style of writing?
Well, thank you, first of all. It's, again, something that I really pride myself on, so I appreciate that you drew attention to that. When I was still in school, I was a really big English nerd. I loved creative writing. I loved poetry. I read a lot of, I don't know, kind of basic Sylvia Plath and stuff like that. But I have to say that I really, really love Roy Khan's lyric style. And I love the way that he can talk about very like human and often like carnal stuff, and it never feels anything but elegant, and always with this touch of melancholy. And it's something that really spoke to me. And I thought, like, wow, this guy really knows how to talk about stuff in the way that I want to talk about stuff. So I guess I really studied the words he used and the way he used them, the way he, sometimes his lines will like run across, like, here's the phrase, but then the lyrics continue like onto the next line. And it creates this type of instability that really just feels right at times. So that was something that I really wanted to emulate when I was learning how to write this. And also I took a fuck ton of lyric writing classes.
Oh, really?
I was like 15. Yeah, I was homeschooled for 10th grade, and I started taking like Berkeley online classes because I wanted to get better at songwriting. Because honestly, I mean, aside from touring, like, I think songwriting is where like the most steady income is. And I wanted to make sure that I could deliver what I wanted to say in a way that was the best that I could possibly make it, I guess. And yeah, I guess it's just about like using certain words that I like and certain words that I don't like. For example, the word rot. It's such an ugly, disgusting word that like I would typically shy away from, unless, and like you as somebody who's, I guess, pretty familiar with my music, you would be shocked to hear me scream the word rot. Because
Yeah.
it's filthy. Like, it makes you think of like worms and maggots and like flesh falling off the bone, and it's so like not velvet blazers and like freshly straightened hair. Like, it's disgusting. So like using something like that, knowing that my audience knows that about me, I can be like, hey, surprise, this is where peace rots. And then you'll be like, oh my God, that's so horrible. So yeah, I guess a lot of it's about setting the tone. And then this was a long rant. Sorry.
No, it's cool. No, I'm actually really glad when guests will go on the long rants, because that means because usually that means, because I've actually had a few people on here so far who I've had to like, I've been like really nervous doing this, because I'll be like, they'll give me a really short-winded answer and I'll be like, shit, I was expecting that to go on for a little bit longer.
Okay, well, I'm glad it's not too boring.
Oh no, it's great. And as I said, and that's one of those things that I think is really great about you guys, that you also like surprise the listener too, because I remember on Emerald Seas, Drown of Worlds, as I said, the lyrics in that song are like so different from what you guys normally do, and I was just like, what the hell? This is dark. Like, this is not like not dark in like the elegant kind of way, but like darkens in like the holy shit, this is like a monster movie kind of way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that was written to be still elegant, but like shocking. I mean, it's such a dark point for this character who's like facing their own death, that you can't just be like, you can't be like that about it. It has to be like, this is serious business. We're about to die. How do you feel about it? You can't like beat around the bush about it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely.
That's, I don't know. I could go on and on about lyric writing. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and I said, even myself personally, like, that's one of the reasons what I kind of drew. I'm sure a lot of people in the chat feel this way too, but that's kind of what kind of drew me to your guys' music, was the fact that our genre is still, even though we're both under the umbrella of power metal, our genre is very much more of the Man-O-War sort of like Man-O-War, Blind Guardian, like epic stuff, you know, and more recently I've been trying to think of ways to write, still kind of have that kind of realm. That's just because that's the kind of band we are, but do it in a bit more less traditional way, you know? Like, instead of being, oh, swords and blood and blah, 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 I just thought, well, how can I say that, but in a more interesting way that hasn't been done, you know, that isn't just like, kill the dragon and then the wolves come and eat the dragon's carcass and, you know?
Totally, yeah. I think that's super great, too, because when everything has been said, what more can you say? You have to come up with your own way of doing things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing I want to ask you about, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about this, is Heart Healer.
Mm-hmm.
Heart Healer. I got the album recently, and it was amazing. Absolutely loved it. So could you tell us about how the process was for? I always keep saying recording process. What I mean is, like, how was the whole process for you working on it, and how did it feel to share an album with such legendary singers in the genre, like, you know, Annette Olsen and all that? So how was that whole experience?
It was very affirming. Annette, for anyone that doesn't know, Imaginary by Nightwish is one of my top 5 albums of all time. And Annette was a singer on that, and so in a way it was like singing with my mom. She really inspired me, and that album was like such an important part of my artistic becoming when it came out, I guess. But yeah, so the Heart Healer thing began by Frontiers sent me. They put me in touch with Magnus, and Magnus was like, hey, I'm making this album. I would love for you to be on it. A couple songs. We can pay you this much. Here's the story. Are you into it? It has real string players and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's right up my alley. Would love to do it. And then I don't know what happened, but they're like, hey, can you do a few more songs? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he sent me the songs, and it was like, oh, I'm singing the lead part, the main character. Okay, I've never gotten to be the main character in an opera before because I am a mezzo-soprano and we never get the lead parts, and that's part of why I didn't go into theater. Frustrating. But yeah, I basically Jack was at my house. We recorded it in May or June, something like that, I think. And we were just happy to be working on something that wasn't Spires Week, because like the pandemic hit, we went home from tour. He came with me to my family's house to work on record 3. And then we were like kind of burned out from working every day. And then I was like, hey, can you engineer my vocals for this thing? And so like, we literally just did it in my room. He like set up the microphone in a way, like we turned on the air conditioning. We made sure everything was quiet. Yeah, I didn't get to meet anybody. It was all online. I exchanged a couple of emails with Magnus, and I exchanged a few messages on Instagram with Annette. She's, by the way, an extremely sweet, wonderful, like amazing person. And she has this like strength about her. I can't explain it, but it's like, wow, she's so positive, but in a way that's like, don't fuck with her. I think she's really awesome. So yeah, it was when the album came out and they used the duet with me and her on it as like here's the album, everybody, and by the way, here's another single. I was like, Annette tagged me in a post. So yeah.
I actually do remember seeing that, and I was just like, oh.
It was pretty surreal.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, it's so, like, it is a really cool thing when you get to kind of, you know, there's the old expression, you know, don't meet your heroes, but it's always awesome when you meet them, and not only do they think you're cool, but they're like, oh, I like what you do as well. And, yeah, it's true. And I remember when I went to Prague Power USA, the last one before the pandemic, it was kind of the same feeling when I met Hansi, because Hansi is like one of my top. He's like, with Rob Halford and Freddie Mercury, he's like top 3 for me also. And
this makes perfect sense, knowing your vocals, by the way. That's awesome.
Sorry?
I said that makes perfect sense, knowing your vocals.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's cool. No, that's cool. And then when I met again, it was brief, but at the same time, I got this two different kinds of kind of vibes from him. I got like he was just a really, really sweet, kind German guy who he was almost like had like almost like a fatherly kind of air to him. But at the same time, I almost felt I'm like, oh, if he's like this guy will literally call upon lightning and strike right through the top of the venue onto you if you piss him off.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And even my friend, a friend of mine, told me a story once about how I have a friend here in Ottawa who she used to work for 70,000 Tons of Metal. Like she was like I think she was one of the calendar girls actually, and she said that literally it was the most cliche thing. It was almost out of like a movie. She is outside on the front deck, and there's storm clouds in the distance, and you hear thunder, and it's really loud. And as soon as that started, Hansi walked out.
Of course.
I'm like, I bet you he probably caused that.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, so we have about 10, 15 minutes left. So one thing I'm actually going to get to right now is I have two little things left for this. The first one is, so as I told you earlier, before I do one of these streams, the day before I'll always do on our story a little like, oh, anyone have any questions for whoever? And we got a couple. We got a couple for you here actually. So I hope that they're watching if they are on here. The first one actually comes from some tall, lanky guitar player named Jack Costo. Don't know him. He asks, "Who's your favorite guitar player in Seven Spires?"
It's got to be Jack. I don't know who else it could be. There's only one of them. I guess that also makes him my least favorite guitar player in Seven Spires. Although I also shittily play guitar, and so does Chris. But I would say that I'm my least favorite guitar player in Seven Spires. So he's safe. They're both safe.
Awesome. And the second one's an actual legit question. It's from a big supporter of us, Mr. in no relation in name at all, Mr. Big Bad Wolf 6669 asks, what's your take on the big debate for Nightwish fans between Floor Jansen and Tarja Turunen? Are you Team Floor or Team Tarja?
Okay. I hate this question, by the way. I think they're all
we all do.
And I think this is an over-debated thing. And also, I think Floor has been in the band for like at least 7 or 8 years by now. And I think we should all just respect that. And I think it's also just we as women are constantly compared to each other so fucking much. And it's just exhausting. But if I had to pick a favorite of the 3, Laura is my favorite. I think she's absolutely fantastic. And inspiration. She seems very kind, very strong. And she's so versatile. She can do everything. Again, they're all amazing. I think, sorry to interrupt. Annette is absolutely fantastic. And Tarja is also, I mean, like, she is the one that started the whole like opera singers and metal thing, as far as I know. So like nobody can like take that away, you know?
Yeah. I'm kind of on the, for me, whenever I answer this question, I'm always on the, like, I'm in the same mind as you. I'm just like, well, I always say like what my favorite album is, because I'm like, even though like Flora I personally like more just because bigger inspiration to me, I always tell people my favorite Nightwish album is Dark Passion Play. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, really? And I'm like, yeah.
It's a great album.
Oh no, like Poet and the Pendulum is literally like one of the most like dark songs ever written in metal. And most people who are there just like, I'm like, guys, read the lyrics. You'll be sad for like a month, okay?
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favorites too. Like, I mean, I feel like there's like, oh well, Ghost Love scores automatically better. But like the Poet and Pendulum has its own very special darkness. Yeah, I could talk about that song for a really long time, but
Oh yeah. Oh no, same with me. Like I'll always tell people who are like Nightwish fans, I'll always have the really hot take of like I kind of like it more than Ghost Love Score. What? Yeah, a hot take alert. I know.
I like it. We like hot takes as long as
Oh
they're
yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
I said we like hot takes as long as they're not wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so I guess the last thing that I'll ask you here, because this is the thing I usually ask everybody who comes on here. I always ask them this, but in your case, since you're someone who a lot of people look up to, myself included, and a lot of people have learned from, is I'm going to kind of make this sort of a 2, maybe 3-part question, maybe.
Okay.
I always ask them, what kind of imparting advice can you give to people watching this who'd want to, like, you know, be in a band or be a vocalist or whatever. But in your case, you can answer that, but I'll also stray away from that as well, because there's kind of 1 or 2 specific things I know you talk about a lot that I just love for you to address. And one of them is because I've noticed that, like, even before you were in Avantasia, what advice can you give to people who are looking to do this kind of thing as a living, like to make money from it? Because you're someone that has done that very successfully. So what advice can you give on that front?
If you want to make a living being a metal musician,
well, not living, but like make how can you kind of turn yourself into a full-time musician as you have?
Oh, practice until you're great. Number 1. So practice a lot. Be good to work with, kind and respectful, and team players are always a lot more valuable than really talented assholes. No, you know, if it gets around that you're good to work with, then you will definitely get a lot more leads than like, oh, they're really good, but like they've had a revolving door of musicians in their band because they just can't, nobody can bear to work with it. Like, you know what I mean? You want to be somebody that is pleasant to be around. Ideally, you're going to be spending, you know, months with your teammates in a small vehicle. So better be nice. And yeah, any other advice as far as like wanting to like be in a band, it's do it for the right reasons, do it for you. This kind of goes against what I was saying about like how to make money, but like do it for yourself. Don't stray from what you. Did you ever have a dream where you wish, you think, my mouth like disconnected from my brain for a second.
I also really appreciate that reference as well.
Thank you. I'm glad that you got it. I think the point that I'm trying to make is you should never compromise yourself artistically, or even like if you're in a strange situation where somebody is trying to take advantage of you personally or professionally, whether that's in a really gross like sexual or emotional way, or if it's just like not paying you enough or not paying you period, not respecting your time. Like these people are the wrong kind of vampires, and I would say get the fuck out of there. There are plenty of other people that deserve your attention and your talent and your drive. Yeah.
Yes, sweet. And yeah, that's something I think we can all kind of relate to, because I'm sure when we all first started, and I know I can speak for myself on this too, is that we've all kind of come across a few of those kinds of people in the industry that will just try and bleed you dry and all that. And it's I can definitely say it happened to us when we first started. But also, 1 second, our drummer has a little comment here. Good night from Greece. I hope I'll meet you in person someday. Thank you for being on our series. Really enjoy it.
Good night, Thanos. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.
When we played with you guys last, when you came to Ottawa, that actually would have been his first show with us, but he was still on vacation. Yeah, I was saying, I'm like, because I was telling him, like, oh, dude, I'm gonna introduce you to them. They're all great, you know, blah blah blah. And he goes, oh, I'm going to Greece with my family that month. I'm like, fuck.
Oh. Well, next time for sure.
Sweet, yeah. And
was there a third part to that? I feel like I only addressed 2 parts.
oh no, actually no, there is a third part. I just didn't ask it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just didn't ask it yet. So this is something that I know you talk about sometimes on your stories or whatever. And if this is, again, I just like to ask, like, preface this before I ever ask this kind of thing. But if this is too personal of a question, then feel free to just to disregard it. But what advice can you give to people to deal with negativity online, like in terms of, especially from the perspective of a singer? Because I know I can speak for myself too when I say that we kind of get it the worst in terms of criticism and all that. So what kind of advice can you give? And I know you've shared some stuff before about, like, sort of the negative side of that. So what kind of advice can you give people to cope and deal with it and move on from that?
Great question. And I almost don't feel like I can speak on this because it's literally something that I have to address in therapy, because I'm a really sensitive person, and it can really get to me. And I think recently I realized that it's a little bit of a trigger for my, like, bad feelings, basically. So I guess the first thing that I would say to anybody that really struggles with this is, like, it's totally valid to feel shitty when you read shitty comments about your creations. A friend of mine told me, like, you can hear every single day, like, just ignore them, people are assholes. But, like, and this is my friend's words, like, our monkey brains aren't wired to have thousands of opinions every single day. Like, we're just not built for that. So if you're getting a fuck ton of negativity, it's perfectly fine to feel like shit about it. I mean, the average person might have, like, one, like, bully at school or something, and, like, okay, we can deal with that. But if you're getting, like, 50 comments per day that's like, oh, kill yourself, emo bitch, I came here to see a bimbo ruin my favorite band, or, like, she can't even scream, she's, like, a mediocre whatever the fuck. Or, like, my ex even told me that he heard some people in the audience, like, when I was on stage, like, oh, I would fuck her. Yeah, it's disgusting. Like, we're not meant to take this. It's not normal. It's not. So yeah, first thing is, you're valid. Take it from me, somebody who experiences this on a daily basis. You're valid. It's fine. The other thing to remember is, my therapist told me 20% of people are assholes, so we can just ignore them. And then the rest of them, I mean, it's just a reflection of how they view themselves and how they were raised and their environment. So if anything, it's just the trash identifying themselves, so you can give yourself permission to block them and delete their comments, because, I mean, it's unpleasant for you to look at, and it's probably unpleasant for your followers who love you to look at. I mean, if you think of it as you're protecting your community rather than protecting yourself, you may find it easier to get rid of these people. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, and that's great. And I apologize if that was a bit personal to ask.
No, not at all. It was actually kind of good to talk about out loud. So thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's just because the reason why I ask you is just because you're, as I said, you're someone that again, lots of people watching this, I'm sure, but I personally, like, look up to a lot as a vocalist. So that's why, and I've experienced it a little bit too. And again, it sucks. And that's why it's one of the things where I like to hear sort of how people who I look up to deal with it personally. That's how I like to do and try and implement that myself. And I'm sure a lot of other people watching this are the same. Cool. So
sorry, I just I wasn't sure what to say, but I appreciate.
No. That's cool.
I was also trying to imagine, like, if I asked that to for example, a singer that I really look up to, what would Roy Khan say? How would I even ask that? And yeah, just it's wild to think about, like, stuff like if you're singing for the approval of others. I mean, I could talk about this for a long time. I'm just gonna stop now before I.
It's all good. And also, we actually have Bill Hudson from Northtail in the chat right now, and he wants to chime in here. So most, if not all, criticism in this industry comes from people doing worse than you. I always say, when Ingve shit talks me, I'll worry. You guys should do the same. Worry when Kiski shit talks you. Yeah, that's true.
Good point.
That's a very good way of putting it, actually, because like I find, and this is just from people who I've talked to personally who are a bit more, I guess, well-known than me. One thing I've kind of learned to do during this pandemic, just from doing more recording and doing more stuff like that, is like value the criticism and opinions of the people who are kind of have more experience than you, because a lot of times they're the ones who know what they're talking about, and a lot of the people who just throw all those like freaking terrible, horrible comments, usually it's like, yeah, pick up this, play something on this guitar right now. They can't.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, if you're not Sasha Payet or my literal voice teacher, I don't care. Sorry. Or my bandmates, then yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. And with me, usually with our stuff, I'll always try and get opinions from people who, like as I said, Jack is the guy who mixes some of our stuff, so I'll always go to him, be like, hey man, because since he works with you a lot, he's very good with like doing like figuring out like how like with doing vocals and all that. So I'll always ask him, hey man, what do you think of this, or how should I change this, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely has a really good ear for bringing out the best in the artists that he works with.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, so it's 8:30 now, so I guess I'll call it for now. But thank you so much for coming on here and doing this, Adrienne. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. This was super fun, and you asked awesome questions, so thank you for that. And not like, what's it like being a woman in metal?
Oh.
I appreciate really awesome songwriting, lyric writing questions, emotions.
Yeah.
Singing. This was really cool. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, I will never ask anybody that, because I'm someone that I'm of the similar opinion of you. And I saw again Vicky Sarakis post about this today. It's just like why do you have to bring gender into it? You know, just freaking if you're gonna compliment somebody, compliment them on their skill. You know, like exactly. That's the whole point.
Yeah. Also, thank you guys for watching this. I've been reading your comments coming in as they've been coming in. It's been good to see a lot of familiar names, and yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, anyway, so before you go, I'll just do my little kind of outro that I do every time. So everybody, I'm sure everybody here already does, but follow Adrienne, go follow Seven Spires.
And Lycanthro Metal.
Thank you. I was about to, thank you very much. And also just want to give a little plug to go follow her Patreon and her Voice of a Dragon series if you are into learning about how to scream the metals, as it were. So
there's a new orchestration lesson coming probably this or next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for that plug.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, as Adrienne said, follow us at Lycanthro_metal, and tune in on Friday because we'll be talking to Sam Astaroth from Astaroth Incarnate. And yeah, so thanks so much again for being on, Adrienne. It was great catching up with you. And really hope very soon that we'll see you back around these parts.
I hope so too. Hopefully it won't be too long from now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, anyway, see you, Adrienne. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Bye.
Yep.
How do I leave?
I got it. Wait.
Oh, okay.
I got it. Wait a minute. There we go. See ya.